Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the BBC News at 1. Gordon Brown has apologised to the mother of a soldier killed in Afghanistan after she described a condolence letter written by him as a hastily scrawled insult. According to Downing Street, the Prime Minister was deeply mortified to think he may have offended the family. Guardsman Jamie Janes, who was from Brighton, was killed in an explosion in Afghanistan in October. His mother, Jackie, says her son's name was misspelt in the Prime Minister's letter. Gary O'Donoghue reports.
Jamie Janes was killed in Afghanistan last month. The Guardsman was the fifth generation of his family to serve in the infantry. And like every member of the armed forces who's killed in action, his family was sent a handwritten letter by the Prime Minister. But the letter appeared to have mistakes in it, including misspelling the family name, writing James with an M rather than Janes with an N.
When I read it, I didn't even get halfway through it, I just threw it. It's just an absolute insult to Jamie.
It wasn't the first time the Prime Minister had got the family's name wrong. At question time last month, he clearly mispronounces it when expressing his public condolences.
From 1st Battalion, the Grenadier Guards, Guardsman Jamie James.
The Prime Minister only has sight in one eye, and that isn't perfect. He often uses black felt-tip pens to write with. But whether these apparent errors are the result of his poor vision or the system in Downing Street, one Cabinet Minister said he'd be upset over how Mrs Janes felt.
Our sympathies are with Mrs Janes. I think the Prime Minister handwrites notes to the families precisely because he wants to offer some little comfort and respect.
If it was me, I'd rather have a handwritten letter that was messy than a typed letter that was not very personal.
If you're taking care to write to somebody personally, then presumably getting their name right would be prudent.
The Sun has been conducting a forceful campaign against Gordon Brown, and some sources say this is a vindictive attack on the Prime Minister. This morning, Downing Street said the Prime Minister was deeply mortified at the idea that he'd offended the Janes family and had spoken to them to apologise. His spokesman described Gordon Brown's handwriting as somewhat unique, though he will continue to write such letters himself. Gary O'Donoghue, BBC News, Westminster.
Well, our political correspondent Carol Walker is at Westminster for us, and as Gary mentioned in his report, there are some who are saying this is purely a pernicious story. It's sort of an agenda that's being set by some in the press. But regardless, what damage could this do to the Prime Minister?
Well, clearly there is a wider political agenda here, but I think the problem, Kate, is that for a Prime Minister struggling to maintain public support for this very difficult and dangerous mission, he can't really afford to upset a grieving mother in this way. And I think that's why just in the last few minutes we've had a further statement from Gordon Brown saying that he has apologised to Jackie Janes for any unintended mistake in the letter he wrote to her, and furthermore apologising to any other families that he's written to if his handwriting is difficult to read. Clearly there is a human element to this. He's not known for having the neatest of handwriting. He has had the problems with his eyesight. But I think the deeper problem is that people expect that if the Prime Minister is writing a very sensitive letter like this to a bereaved family, they would expect him to get it right.
Carol, thank you. Carol Walker there.